Hello you guys, welcome here. If you're new here, my name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits, and in this video I'm very excited to be sharing with you a project that's been on my needles for quite some time, but I've recently cast it off and it was a whirlwind, but we'll get into that. Here is cast on day. I have my C knit needles that I've been loving lately. These are the ones that are kind of my go-to now. I've gotten really used to how short the needles are. They're a little bit shorter than my Licca needles, so it was an adjustment, but I definitely prefer them now. I find that my hands find the Licca needles to be a little too long now. And I'm grabbing my yarn of choice. This yarn was kindly sent over to me by Knit in Canada to knit up this pattern, so full disclosure there. They sent over the Making Memories book by Claudia Quintanilla. This is recently released by Lina Publishing, and the pattern that I was using called for this double Sunday, so they sent the quantity that would be needed for the project, as well as this book so that I could share it with you guys. So here's the double Sunday up close. It's a really beautiful light caramel color. It's actually light nougat, which I really love, and I thought it was the perfect shade for like a neutral cardigan, and that's exactly what I wanted to knit up for Arthur. So of course this is a project for Arthur, not for me, because this is a children's knitting pattern book. I looked through the entire book to see what patterns caught my eye. All of them are really, really cute and really beautiful, and they're very timeless. What I really loved about this book, I mean, that's what the description says. I mean, timeless knit for kids, but I think it's true. I found these to be very classic, very classy patterns. And the Luca cardigan is the one that I thought would fit Arthur's wardrobe the best, but there are definitely lots of patterns in there that I was trying to debate through, and I thought they were all very lovely. So, casting on the Luca cardigan with my double Sunday and my C knits. I have my coffee. I have some uninterrupted knitting time. Arthur's down for a nap. I'm feeling really good. Here I'm just doing my long tail cast on. I always do a long tail cast on. This is a top down raglan cardigan with a really, really beautiful texture, which you'll see up close in a minute. I don't think that this pattern specified a cast on, so if it doesn't, I always do long tail, and most of the time I do long tail. I got in right away. I was really into, I wanted to see how this texture worked up. I wanted to know how to knit it, because to me, what gravitated me towards the Luca cardigan is just that it looks like a waffle. and with this light nougat shade, it really does. It really reminds me of a waffle, well, just the breakfast food, but then also a waffle stitch cardigan. So I'll refer to it as the waffle stitch, but I don't know if that's really what they called it. I think either broken garter, broken rib, not quite though, but it didn't take me very long to really get in the flow with this stitch. Very easy to memorize right off the bat. I think that this waffly stitch, or they call it something else. I want to say they call it broken rib, but it's not quite broken rib. A broken garter stitch is not quite broken garter stitch. So this might be one of those projects that kind of just looks elevated, but you can mindlessly knit it. That's at least what I found. And I made some great progress. So it isn't often that I get a morning to myself anymore to knit. I say anymore, so this was like 2 months ago, this footage. That's when Arthur was sleeping through the night, or not through the night, napping a lot better. He was napping a lot better, a lot longer stretches, so I definitely had a lot more time to, sit down and knit. I don't really have that time for myself anymore. So as I was working on this cardigan, it got progressively more difficult to find time to knit. I always have time to knit in the evening, but to film myself, I didn't really have much time. So that's why the majority of this is from the beginning. We were hit with 8-month regression, 9-month, 10 months. Now at almost 11 months, Arthur is still having trouble sleeping. I just think that's a truth about babies. I always go online and see like, oh, the truth about the 8-month regression. There's a 9-month regression. There's a 10-month nap regression. Sleeping is just tough for babies. And that's just a universal truth that I'm kind of discovering. We're doing the best that we can, and that's okay. But in truth, this doesn't really, this is not a good, I think, depiction of what an average day looks like for me at the moment. I don't have that much time with my knitting needles, if I'm being honest with you. And of course, little man woke up, and around this time he had just started crawling, so he was on the move. I had to put my needles down. I was going through a lot. Arthur was going through a lot. He was learning new things, becoming just this amazing little human that is a little bit of a wrecking ball at times. Okay, let's talk about knitting with a baby, shall we? Honestly, it's really not that hard to juggle, to share time with your hobby as well as being a parent. Parenting is a full-time thing, but you can definitely carve out different moments for yourself to indulge in what you love to do. Knitting being that thing for me, it could be something else for you. Maybe knitting isn't as high on your priorities on your to-do list as it is for me, but I've definitely found that it's not so difficult to knit with a baby. With this project, it's so nice to be able to use my hobby to share that in some way with Arthur, even though he's not old enough to actually partake in knitting itself. He is interested in yarn. He doesn't understand why I use it, but he likes it because it's very interesting. It's something that mom picks up, and he wants to also pick it up and use it. He doesn't use it the same way I do. He definitely slobbers all over it and tangles it up, which was a huge thing with this project. That was actually very challenging. The hardest part about this was not only trying to find time to work on it, but then also working with the skeins that Arthur has just messed with. I wanted to put that lightly. But yeah, that was like the main challenge, is trying to figure out how can I salvage this skein of yarn that my son has just wrecked through like a tornado. That's one thing though. If you are interested in knitting with your babies, the biggest tip that I can offer you, while it will be a headache, is to give them some yarn. Give them some yarn and play. Whether it's the yarn that you're working on, they're gonna want the yarn that you're working on, but if you can distract them with another skein that you're not as interested in working with, at least at the moment, or at all, if you have the luxury and some skeins that you're really not interested in ever working up, save those for your baby. Give those to them and let them go wild, because they will. In just a few minutes flat, you'll have just a squiggly mess, and your babies will be very excited. But that's not the only thing that kind of tripped me up with this project. So as you're seeing here, I finished up the yoke and I was counting my stitches. I have this bad habit where I actually count just one section of a yoke and then use those stitches to determine if I'm ready to move on from the increased section or not. So I'm pretty sure that's what I did here. And when I was about to do the ribbing at the bottom, there was a step that I had to count again. And when I counted, wait a minute, did I really just miss like 20 something stitches from this cardigan body? How is that possible? And then on top of that, the stitch kind of makes it all, bunched together, looks a lot smaller than it is. So I put it in timeout. I had to put this project aside and work on something else because I didn't want to frog it. I nearly did, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to deal with that heartbreak. So I moved on. And I'm really glad I did, because I came to revisit this project and I realized, okay, I'm not off by 20 stitches, but I'm off by 2 or 3. And that's much more manageable, something that I can definitely deal with and that won't really affect the fit too badly. compared to, knitting the wrong size completely. So if you could learn anything from this, just take some time away. If you're coming up onto something that you think you did a huge mistake, instead of in the heat of the moment making a decision you might regret, just take some time, give it its space, because that was really healthy for me. So it was time to pick up where I left off. And where I left off was on these sleeves. So working on the sleeves definitely flew a lot more than the body of the sweater. I'm here working in magic loop, trying to work around these needles. It's just a lot easier for me. I was definitely a DPN's girl for a while, and I just decided, you know what? Magic loop it is, and it turned out fine. I didn't have any runs in my sleeves, so I think my tension was great, which was really good to see. And so then when I finished those sleeves, I don't really have a lot of footage of that, but I do have footage of blocking, and I just thought this was really funny. Just overflowing that bowl. That's not practical. I don't do that. I just thought it was funny for the video. The best part, the best part about working this project is always the buttons. It's finishing it up and seeing what it looks like as a finished piece. I got these really cute buttons from Veritas. These are hardwood, solid wood buttons. Normally I go for the plastic tortoiseshell, like fake tortoiseshell look, but I thought something gravitated me towards these. Maybe it's We Grow Wild, Martina from We Grow Wild. She always has really great wooden buttons that she makes, so maybe that was the inspiration there. So I'm just sewing these on. I prefer to use thread. I know that that's a very controversial opinion or decision. I know because a lot of people tell me that it's gonna split the yarn, but I've never had that happen. And I just find that the yarn doesn't fit through a lot of buttons, and also it doesn't keep buttons as tight as this thread does. So I prefer to use sewing thread, definitely. Yeah, and that's the project. It was a whirlwind, and I have a lot more thoughts to share. It's really interesting. It was like a crafting prompt for me, making memories. I never thought about it that way before. I never had. I've made so many things for myself. I've made so many things for Arthur, and I don't think it ever really hit home that I have a keepsake. I've said this before, definitely when I was doing my Baby Knits marathon, like I was definitely talking about having these memories, this keepsake for the future when I'm gonna look back at Arthur's Baby Knits and see like, how was he ever this small? But it wasn't until now, and I think this is one of the pieces that makes it all the more something to cherish, because he is just so much more developed than he was couple of months ago, obviously. Each month he gains new skills, each month he gains a new level of consciousness and a new little jewel in his personality that is really a treat for us to witness. But then it's also that I'm remembering that. This was difficult, this was fun, this was a chore at times because I knew I needed to get it done. I wanted to get it done. It can be all of those things at once. And remembering every stitch, remembering the highs and lows of this project, it was a memory in that way. But then trying to juggle that with being a parent and having Arthur in such a challenging stage of life where he's not sleeping through the night very well, he's not napping very well. I'm go, go, go the whole day, and I get some nice moments when he's in bed to myself, and I cherish those moments, but I sneak a couple of rows of knitting in. But this piece, more so than any of the other pieces that I've made for him so far, this is definitely a memory, and I was stitching a memory, and that was what was present in my mind the whole time is that this book made it click for me that I'm making something that I'm gonna remember this point in my life. And I think I'll remember it even more vividly because of this item right here. This book is really special. I'm so thankful that I was able to receive a copy and to knit one of these patterns. I think the Luca cardigan was definitely a great pick for Arthur and where he is in life, but I've looked through the entire book. They're all gorgeous, and I have a couple on my list that I would definitely want to knit up. There's a vest pattern that looks very similar to the Luca cardigan, if I can find it in my... Aha, here it is. It's the Oscar vest, and it has the same stitch pattern, and I think that would be so adorable when Arthur's a little bit older. And then there is another cardigan that... Oh, where is it? That I would just absolutely love to make. Very similar though to the Luca cardigan, so I probably won't cast it on anytime soon, but it is the Florentina cardigan, and that one is also really lovely. It doesn't have all over texture, but it has a really nice feature at the front. The Sandnesgarn yarn was kind of a pain to work with, I'm not gonna lie. I like the Sunday yarn for the color palette, and I do like the feel of the yarn right out of the skein, but working with it, I noticed it splits a lot. I don't know if it was just the batch that I had or if it's the yarn. I'm thinking it's the latter. The splitting was a little too much, but it also is probably just, I was already frustrated with the tangled up mess that I was trying to work through. Yeah, I'm just trying to convey the complex emotions that is this project, and that is parenting, and that is making, crafting, all of it together. It's beautiful. I cannot say enough good things about it. I cannot express to you how complex my emotions are about this piece, and having a almost 1-year-old that fits into 12 to 18 month clothes. That's crazy to me. I want to say thank you very much to the team at UKnit for sending this over to me. Thank you very much, Claudia, for sharing this book and the materials to make it. I really, really did enjoy it, and I'm very happy to have this piece in Arthur's wardrobe and a book that I can look back on multiple times for multiple years for more knitting inspiration and hopefully projects too. If you like this video, definitely give it a like. I would really appreciate it. It helps me out. And maybe subscribe if you want to stick around for more content like this. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!